Huh. You just discovered what it takes to become a legend. Grab your eye. Let's mobilize.
Putting the punk in cyberpunk. Alright, so hopefully all of you have had a chance to play the expansion of Cyberpunk 2077, The Phantom Liberty. Great game, great expansion. I love some of the changes. I disagree with certain changes that they made, such as the grenades. It has a recharge time, kind of annoying, but otherwise, very good gameplay. So, a video from Sam Bram, top 5 worst decisions in Phantom Liberty. Okay, did I make the proper decision when I did my gameplay? Let's find out.
Phantom Liberty is an expansion absolutely chock full of tough and morally ambiguous decisions. Throughout your time in Dogtown, you'll have to decide the fates of several individuals and be exposed to some easily missable encounters. And whilst many of these big choices occupy the tough, morally grey area, there are a few which are mostly just straight up downright bad. These can lock you out of a ton of content or just be unnecessarily crappy for everyone involved. Just a heads up, I won't be discussing any of the endings for Phantom Liberty. That's getting its own video. In fact, the furthest I'm going in this one will be up to the quest You Know My Name. Now, let's dive in and figure out just where we can royally screw up.
1.
So, for most of us, diving straight into Phantom Liberty after Songbird's first call is no doubt something of a priority. After all, it's not only a better story, arguably, than that of the base game, but also provides access to Dogtown, and with it, a bunch of insanely powerful extra cyberware, weapons, and vehicles. Though, once you first head to the Dogtown gate and quote-unquote meet Songbird, you'd better be ready. Everything from Doggy Dog up to Lucretia My Reflection will be entirely time-sensitive and won't allow you to walk away. Or will it? You see, after our initial conversation, where Johnny gets muted from the chat and we thankfully unlock the relic skill tree, there's nothing actually preventing us from simply walking away. And indeed, making our way back into the familiarity of the rest of Night City is entirely permitted, despite Songbird's utter bewilderment.
V, there's no time. V, the president needs your help.
After a short while, she'll narrate and blame you for killing the NUS president, annoyingly disconnecting from the relic just as I was ordering my drink.
Good to see you. Fucking motherfucker. Fuck. What? Congrats, V. You just killed Rosalind Myers and fuck the NUSA. Pray we don't meet again, and I mean ever.
Ever? Oh, damn. Really? That's what happens?
Definitely go for a drink.
It would seem, though, before
went for the drink anyway.
Does take
That's
control
awesome.
of our body just long enough to walk me back to the gate and bear witness to the Space Force One crash.
Still with us?
What happened?
Your presidential rescue op. Miserable failure. Honestly, though, good fucking riddance.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what?
Huh. We go on living. Start by finding us a drink.
Yep, that's what I was trying to do, Johnny. So yeah, it's entirely possible to
have a drink on me
from the get-go. Though for someone running a total anti-government roleplay run, I guess it's nice to have it included. And better still, all from Phantom Liberty is not lost, thanks to the opportunistic business instincts of Mr. Hands, who afterwards will grant you VIP access into Dogtown. We can still visit the vendors and Ripperdocs for all that high-level gear, and some gigs and side content will still be available. Not all, but some. Sadly, the latter half of Mr. Hand's gigs will remain locked, since you'll never have cause to meet him, which is the trigger for the new gigs in the game. And only a handful of side quests will ever be available too. As an extra bonus, we do get a second chance to back out here, and this one has far less dire consequences. Basically, once you bring Solomon Reed to Myers, you'll have this dialogue option come up. It's not a bluff. Selecting it, then confirming with the next option will end the main quest line too. Though in this scenario, Rosalind does get back to Washington, and Reed does kindly inform you that all went well before permanently severing ties. We do eventually get contacted by the American Animal Defenders Association too, and a tipped 5k, as they play an anonymous thank you for saving Rosalind. You do overall get a tiny bit more from doing this one, such as the chimerical, but again, tons of side content will still remain locked. And despite the fact that Mr. Hands will in this case display 10 gigs to complete, subsequent jobs never seem to unlock after the first 5.
Just make things explode.
I'm not quite sure why you do this aside from some specific roleplay, but kudos to the devs for allowing this silliness and actually accommodating the people who for some reason choose to miss out on more than half the expansion that they paid for.
2.
Next up is a mistake that's way easier to screw up on. A kind of almost nothing moment that can have some truly dire consequences further down the line. During Lucretia My Reflection, when traversing the tunnels after we defeat the Chimera, we'll be presented with a fork in the road. Now, choosing to turn left will mean everything should be fine. You'll head along a mine shaft, through a sewer, and get to the exit with no issues. But turning right, where you have to shut off the gas valve, will mean you're unexpectedly spotted by cameras. Not a problem. Of course, there's no enemies down here, and you can shoot them anyway, if it makes you feel better.
I mean, I just disabled them with net
running. Move on and forget all about them. At least, I did. Enter the elevator and visit your future Dogtown apartment, the worst by all standards, and continue through the story. When Jacob and Taylor arrive, obviously spare them, because it turns out they're pretty decent tombs and extra protection for Madame Prez. Taylor is an ex-nomad who betrayed his family, but seems a little more honourable now, and Jacob is an amputee thanks to Colonel Hanson, but has high hopes and big dreams. He asks for $1 million and any model of
City of Dreams.
To which Rosalind candidly replies,
"Tell me where you want it parked."
And yes, we can find later she does fully intend to stay true to her word. Her personal notes confirm this. But here's the thing. Case may be that J&T don't actually live long enough to enjoy their insane stroke.
Unfortunately,
because it turns out those cameras were feeding intel direct to Barguest. And come the next day, when in the car with Reed, we will be waylaid and forced to fight goons both on the road and back at the building. Jacob and Taylor, in this case, honoured their agreements and went down defending the president. Sad,
not
necessarily
so,
all because of our sloppiness. But here's how to avoid this. Even if you do turn right back in the tunnels, all you have to do is switch on the laptop in this server room, which I honestly thought couldn't be interacted with at all the first time around. But from this terminal, you can wipe any recordings made of you and Rosalind. Now, the following day, you and Reed will be completely uninterrupted in your journey, and no one unsavory will be waiting at the building. Jacob and Taylor will still be there, and you'll be able to bid them farewell.
I can save them.
Now, this feels
that
a
sucks.
lot more hopeful, though one smidgen of
take it for the team.
remains. That is, when we text Reed asking about how these two are doing, we get this ominous, not particularly elaborative reply. Quote, "They've been taken care of. No need to worry about them anymore." End quote. I don't know about you, but this does very much make me worry about the fate of Jacob and Taylor, and offing loose ends certainly aligns with FIA protocol. My slither of hope is in the fact that Rosalind was planning to anonymously pay them, no doubt again via the American Animal Defenders Association, though by the fact she sent us just 5k for doing a hell of a lot more, perhaps she did
we were underpaid
in the end. Nevertheless, wiping the recordings leaves us with more hope for them, whereas not doing so means a straight up definitive death. If anyone has found any further signs of these two in the world, happy or sad, please comment it below. And for now, let's just picture them driving into the sunset in a Caliburn or Arendite.
3.
No Easy Way Out is most famously a song by Robert Tepper that plays in Rocky IV.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That it should relate to a new side quest about a boxer. Aaron has been figuratively trapped by the animals into allowing his fights to be fixed. They implanted him with a brain chip, which can be remotely activated to send him down whenever they want. They can literally control when he loses. So, Aaron wants this chip taken out, and his
it's rigged.
Meaning we have to fight through a base of scabs to get to the Ripper, who can perform this
operation. Always scabs.
All appears to be going swimmingly, until just after the op, where we're met by Angie, a distinctively non-animal-looking member of the animals, who explains a few more things to us, like the fact that Aaron used to run with the gang, and it was only through being a violent thug in the first place that he could actually afford the implants, which make him a great fighter. It's because of this that the animals have him under lock and key. He literally owes them a debt for granting him the power in the first place. Of course, we know from other encounters with the animals that debts very often aren't squared away fairly. So who's to say whether Aaron truly should still actually owe them or not? What we also learn, however, interestingly, is that Angie never actually used the chip on Aaron to forcibly send him down. She never needed to. He always did as he was told and took the profits from it. And now, all she asks is that Aaron throws just one more fight. The biggest fight of his life. Of course, to those wanting to stick on side with the guy who hired them, there's one blaringly obvious solution. Much as Angie is, how do I put this, one of the best YouTube thumbnail NPCs in the game, killing her will free Aaron from the animal's clutches. Or so it would seem. He'll later text us and say he's still lost the fight, but not for lack of trying, and wants to meet up in person to say thanks. Of course, the problem is that the animals gang didn't stop at just Angie, and by the time we get to Aaron, we're a few moments too late. He was taken to a nearby alley and beaten to death. It's kind of a nice wake-up call, this, to make us realize that we can't simply shoot every problem away, but it is no doubt tragic, and a bad way for this story to end. Only caveat is that by doing it this way and shooting Angie, we will get her iconic Unity pistol, Cheetah, which deals more critical damage the closer you are to an enemy, and looks pretty cool too. I'll rank it alongside the other guns soon. However, other choices here can result in a much happier ending for everyone involved. Letting Angie have her way and fully maintain control over Aaron will keep him alive, but as you probably could have guessed, she does not actually cut him loose after throwing that next fight. Instead, saying this.
Aaron, what awaits him?
He's our guy. We'll take care of him. Guess he thought he could get rid of the chip and the past. But that just ain't how it works. I think
go your own way.
On the plus side, we get 10k edges, but precious little more. The better way to end this, in my opinion, is by playing the Sasquatch card, an easy and surefire way to actually strike fear into these three animals. They'll afterwards leave you alone, and by extension, Aaron too. I guess Angie remaining alive, but knowing you're capable of taking down her boss and protecting Aaron now, means she doesn't let anyone make a move on the guy. From doing this, you have two more options. Either convince Aaron to still throw the fight, or do his best to win. He won't win, even if he does try. Afterwards, she'll move to Costa Rica, apparently, and start trying out as a fighter there. Not quite sure what the gang scene is like over there, but here's to hoping for a better future for our guy. Equally, telling him to throw the fight, still out of fear for his life, is a surprisingly good way to resolve things, contextually. Aaron will realise there's more to life than just him as a boxer, and will shortly after start training young kids. This is the most wholesome ending in my book,
He's the new generation out of
reconcile with his past as a gangoon and turn his life around to do something
because you can go your own way.
Provides a nice foil to the abhorrent method used on young sports stars during the Talent Academy gig. If you play,
I remember that. Okay. 4.
Here's a cool side quest with potentially dire outcomes. Balls to the Wall involves us meeting and making friends with the two Barghest soldiers, Paco and Babs. Not only that, but it also involves a flashback hallucination scene wherein we literally kind of play as Colonel Hanson, fighting against scavs and stealing their stolen generators, during which Paco relays his tale of winding up in a big mess. See, this guy was tasked with transporting said generators for the Colonel, but unwitting opportunistic gonk that he is, Paco thought it would be a good idea to sell off said generators to afford himself a quick extra buck, utterly neglecting the issue of how Barghest is going to respond when they find out their new recruit lost said precious cargo. After the flashback's over, Paco and Babs turn to us for help to get out of their terrible predicaments, for which we have several options. This is one of the reasons I said in my review that you probably want to complete the friendship quest lines from the main game if you can before embarking on Phantom Liberty, since the final choice choice of these relies on said friendships. But the first choice is objectively the worst here, at least for the immediate future. Trying to par off the loss of the generators on Yuri, a Barghest soldier already in Hansen's bad books, may not sound like a terrible idea. However, it is. It so is. Babs immediately suggests we continue this conversation the following day nearby, by which time, of course, the damage has been done. Yuri himself comes for us, initiating a mini boss fight, and afterwards we learn why.
Really?
Yuri, you see, obviously clocked that Paco had stolen the generators and had thus ratted him out to Hansen. In response, the Colonel ordered a public display of punishments, a warning against the other soldiers who defy him. Paco's body is found hanging nearby, his head having been
That
bashed
sucks.
off like some Negan-level shit just a few hours prior. Though screwed up as this already is, this ending can get technically worse, if you're so inclined. See, messaging
Jeez, it
Babs
gets
to
worse?
ascertain whether she's safe, she'll ask about Paco. And, well, we can tell her and say we're really sorry, or we can pretend that he's probably fine. Doing the latter, she'll explain she's escaping on a flight to Kenya, and booked him a ticket too, at the expense of all her savings. And, thanks to you, she'll
It's
be
getting
left wondering
worse.
for the rest of her life just what happened to her best friend and why he never contacted her again. Really, truly awful, especially when we look at the alternatives. See, equally, we can offer to smuggle just Paco out of Dogtown, with him in his lead-plated cart boots, and this does result in both surviving, for now. But when we find Taco outside the afterlife, he'll proudly declare he's joined one of the most horrible and abhorrent gangs that you possibly can, the Scabs. And if
Of
you've
course,
done
the
the Sweet Dream
Scabs.
side quest before this, then V will say this bit of dialogue.
You're kidding, right? Scabs? Of all the things you could have been, you choose to be trash. Once took in a spiked BD. Woke up soon after in a scab den. Was this close to being carved up, turned into scop.
Gotta make a living, don't I?
Not only that, but it's made clear that this
Yeah.
ending puts Paco and Babs in direct opposition now, one day perhaps being forced to kill each other on the field of battle. We do get the iconic Umbra called Carmen though, which deals increased limb damage and works best whilst on the move, so at least there's that. We also get this, however, in either of the two best endings, for which you'll have to have completed either River or Panam's questlines. With the Aldecaldo help, both can be smuggled out of Dogtown and make their way to Kenya. For real this time, together.
Ah.
Alternatively, River can lift some different generators from NCPD lockup, allowing both of these two to remain in Barghest, having hopefully learned their lesson. For both, we'll get the Carmen from a crate in the tent where we first met. Which is best out of these two? Tough to say. Dogtown ain't exactly a good place to be, so I suppose it depends on the state of affairs in Kenya. All I know about it in 2077 is that it's the headquarters of Orbital Air, so who knows?
Yes.
Maybe both of them wind up with a
It
cushy
is.
job at the spaceport and don't have to worry about dying every day. That said, Megacorps ain't exactly healthy workspaces which care about their
Nope.
employees. So what do you think, Paco?
They don't give a
Babs would
fuck.
prefer?
To this day!
Either way, it's gotta be better than working for the Scabs or, just straight up death.
5.
For those unaware, You Know My Name is a Bond song by Chris Cornell, which
That's
plays
right,
in Casino
Chris Cornell.
Royale. I can't play it, obviously, but I think it's very underrated if you go and listen to it. Fitting, as well, of course, for the casino mission, given
Oh,
that
yes.
that movie is a high-stakes game of poker, and this mission is, well, similar. You Know My Name was one of my absolute favourite quests for Phantom Liberty, namely
I
because
agree.
of just
Got to
how
actually
many
play
familiar
roulette.
faces we get to see and meet there. Indeed, the core spy element here is really cool, but I think one of the worst decisions you can make in the entire expansion is to get drawn too heavily into the stakes of this mission. It's easy enough, especially as things progress, to feel like you ought to be getting a shift on, though part of that is no doubt down to the fact that this feels ripped straight from a Bond movie. Or actually,
It felt
more
like a Bond
accurately,
movie.
This mission
I agree.
in particular reminds me of the party scene from Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. You know, what with all the blue holographics and stuff. Seriously though, give yourself time to breathe for this mission. I know it's annoying because you can't sprint, but visit every balcony, every alcove, every table. There's both an insane level of lore and callbacks
Oh, yes.
which can be found at this place. So here's just a few. Remember that time Takemura got mistaken for a celebrity presenter, Hideshi
Oh,
Hino,
yeah.
and we made him recite that line,
Beta Bakurap!
That's right.
Ino-san, what happened to you?
I do not know. I do not recognize myself.
Well, what do you think? Whilst nowhere near identical, I can certainly see plenty of resemblance. The best part about this, though, is we can literally have a conversation with Hideshi about Takamura.
You look exactly like my friend Goro Takamura.
Did he also just get out of rehab?
Also, there's a ton of TV stars here. People we hear all the time across the city, see on TV screens, and listen to whilst booting up the game. They'll either shrug you off like the street-level scum that you are, or they'll try and flirt with you. You can also head to the Overlook to hear about some of the insane arms deals which go on here. Oh, and there's also another cat. A particularly important guest, it would seem, and maybe you can discuss some theories as to why in the comments. Mr. Hands is also here, of course, and several others. Though the most notable and easily missable one can only be seen and spoken to on our way out, after a particularly intense encounter wherein you will probably feel like you need to rush. But make sure not to miss the Chrome lady that we all know and love, Lizzie Wizzy, or Lizzie Wizzy's unwitting engram copy perhaps, as I theorise in this video. It's a somewhat insightful encounter as to her mental state, and a great follow-up to the violence quest. But also, by speaking to her, you can acquire one of the coolest headpieces in the game, simply by complimenting it. It doesn't do anything specifically, along with most of the other clothes now, but it does look hella nice in menus and on bikes. Now, sure, just missing the extra stuff and encounters here may not be a terrible choice with dire consequences in the same sense as others, but I do think it was absolutely worth mentioning, since this party is teeming with cool stuff, and Lizzie Wizzy especially is surprisingly easy to breeze past, so I hope I helped. But comment below any more genuinely bad choices you think you might have made in Phantom Liberty, and perhaps I'll look at them in a future video. I've already got a ton more stuff to discuss about this expansion, but I'm always open to extra ideas. As always, massive thanks to the patrons for your continued support of the channel, and thank you for watching. I'm Sam Bram, and I'll see you soon in another video.
Okay, great video. Great video from Sam Bram. Yeah, it seems that those bendings are either bad or bad as in like a bad result for another person, or just gets worse. Never knew you could just walk away from the main mission of Phantom Liberty. That's kind of funny. That just made the whole buying the DLC kind of a waste of money if you do that. But very good video. He has great videos. I'm going to watch more of them and react to them. Well then, if you enjoyed my reaction to Phantom Liberty of Cyberpunk 2077, make sure you like the video, comment down below, and if you're new to my channel, just make sure you subscribe and ring that bell. Until next time, same Hands King content, same Nerdy Bear reactions. Oh yeah!
Tread lightly.
Name's V, Afterlife affiliated. Make what you will of it.
Are you happy now? You choose first, then.
Black's my choice.
We are red, as our hair, a luscious color. Allez, 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 allez!
21. Odd. Red.
Oui!
You win some, you lose some, folks. Leave us for a moment, if you please.
Goodbye, then.